The last 2 decades of the 20th century were a golden age of technology. The rise of cell phones, the World Wide Web, personal computing, autonomous drones.
Change is occurring so rapidly that even those involved find it difficult to keep pace.
Witnessing every milestone was the TV series Beyond 2000. Its presenters travelled the globe, searching for innovations that would give us a glimpse into the future. Now that we're in the future, it's time to look back at the tech that did and didn't change the world. From the iconic to the offbeat.
Ready?
We're travelling back.
Fire.
Before 2000. Being alive in the 1980s and 90s meant being part of a generation who had more time and money to spend on entertaining themselves than ever before.
The 80s was this magical time right around an economic boom where more automation was coming in and people wanted to live life rather than just work.
From discovering the great outdoors to experiencing true on-demand entertainment and connecting with our inner child, this generation wanted to enjoy themselves.
There was a real excitement about exploring all the new things that technology could give us.
And inventors around the world vied to create products that would feed that desire. Welcome to the future of fun.
It looks like a torture device. Not really going to work for me, sorry.
In mid-1980s Australia, designers didn't come more famous than this guy, Ben Lexon. His winged keel design helped Australia win the America's Cup yacht race in 1983, breaking America's 132-year winning streak.
Well, this yacht designer's more or less retired from serious yacht designing and he only does jobs that he really likes now.
Ben Lexon was the poster boy for innovation in the 80s. He had created something that had revolutionised a really old traditional sport.
Ben figured if wings could revolutionise yachting, maybe they could revolutionise skateboarding too. Enter the skate wing.
The extra set of wheels allow you to make swooping turns at slower speed. And of course the handles here are to grip onto for grim death if you make any miscalculations with your balance. And once you've mastered it, according to Ben Lexon, you've got the very latest in sidewalk surfing.
It turned heads, but were they looking at the board or the presenter's outfit?
We had to get these wheels here on the end of this wing in such a way they hit the ground at the right angles. I have a go, and sometimes I go the right way up, sometimes I go upside down, but that's a matter of lack of practice. It'll only take a day's practice and you become an aficionado of this thing.
Becoming an aficionado proved to be far from plain sailing. And while skateboarding grew to become a $4 billion industry, for the skate wing, it was all downhill.
The skate wing didn't really have a cool factor. And when you consider it's an evolution of a skateboard, it started from a place of being very counterculture and very cool, and then you've turned it into something that's maybe more appealing to a less cool audience, or less coordinated audience.
If a yacht keel and a skateboard can be fused, why not a canoe and a bicycle? Dubbed Flying Fish 2, the core aim of this human-powered hydrofoil was speed.
It's quite long and it turns fairly slowly at about 4 times for every revolution of the pedals. It's very efficient propeller designed just for this purpose. So it's getting a lot of the human effort in through the propeller, nearly 90%.
One of its designers, the spindly-framed Alec Brooks, set out to prove its ability against a burly Olympic rower. It was the ultimate test of pedal versus paddle.
Alec, that was amazing. That was really something. You beat him by a mile. Now, of course, you had 3 advantages over the Skull, didn't you?
Yeah.
1, he's pulling these oars through the water, so that's creating resistance, and you've got a propeller. 2, he's got that light but still very bulky frame to pull through the water, and you've got nothing there. And 3, of course, he's only operating his power half the time when the oars are pulling, and you've got the pedals, so he didn't stand a chance.
Dr. Alan Abbott had high hopes for the Flying Fish 2.
I think that a hydrofoil will become the fastest human-powered watercraft of all types, so we're planning to race this against an 8-man shell, and we're optimistic.
So if 1 man could beat 8 athletic oarsmen?
We think so.
Later that year, the Flying Fish 2 did break a human-powered vessel world record, reaching around 20 kilometres an hour, all due to its ability to reduce drag.
One thing about water is that it slows you down. So if you can lift yourself up out of the water, you increase your speed. A hydrofoil is kind of like an aeroplane wing, but underwater. So essentially it generates lift via differences in pressure.
In 1990, the frigid waters of Bedford, England, played host to another version of hydrofoil design.
Well, as you can see, there's not much to it. The ski is made from compression-moulded fiberglass. The shaft and the hydrofoil blades are made from aluminium alloy. Okay, here we go.
Hydrofoils don't work until a certain velocity is attained, so the air chair was designed to be towed behind a ski boat.
Bending forward and keep your head tucked down between your arms. In other words, really lean forward.
Okay.
Okay, Maxine, lean forward, head down. Head forward, keep hold. That's the way, keep there. Lift your head slowly. That's it, keep hold. Lift your head slowly straighten. Push your arms down again, come up a bit. Push down there. Your weight wasn't quite far enough back on the ski. Once you got up, you came up like a rocket. Another inch of your bum sticking off the back of the seat, basically.
Once the right angle and speed are achieved, the foil engages,
How's it feel?
Great!
drag is reduced, and Maxine rises triumphantly from the water.
I feel like I'm about 20 feet off the water.
The air chair never took off.
Well, don't tell her that she was 20 feet off the water.
But hydrofoil technology has recently found a new niche on surfboards, wakeboards, and stand-up paddleboards.
Hydrofoiling is becoming a bigger and bigger sport, I guess, or recreational activity. And the air chair itself, I don't know what happened to that. We started with an air chair and then moved on to wakeboarding-style hydrofoils. Those hydrofoils look slightly cooler than the air chair. The air chair's a little embarrassing, really.
Meanwhile, in Sweden, another fun sport was being reinvented. For 100 years, Scandinavians had been practicing skate sailing. Now, Anders Ansor was giving it a modern twist.
Looks like you've got quite a bit of stiffener in there, Anders.
We have, yes. Otherwise it deforms in the, when it's highly loaded, it would get another shape. You want to keep the shape as it's designed to get good speeds.
Okay. You can see that Anders is supporting the whole wing by this harness inside, and he's standing on homemade skates that are about 10 centimetres off the ground, which make him look like a bit of a giant, but in fact help him to increase the centre of gravity of his body within the sail.
Thanks to its aerodynamic plastic pod, the Ice Winger racked up speeds of over 80 kilometres an hour, cruising the icy lakes like the fin of some Arctic shark. By 1996, we were wondering, what else could we add a sail to? How about a good old push bike? Made by the designers of the windsurfer, this is the Ark and Roll.
Just
Just like a windsurfer, it has a wishbone made of PVC tubing. Then over this is stretched clear plastic, which forms an airfoil. Then the whole rig is slotted into this mount, which can be fitted to any regular mountain bike.
Ungainly as it seemed, the arc and roll did provide a boost to pedal-powered propulsion.
A huge theme of the 80s was putting two things together and thinking it would be greater than the sum of the parts. Bikes are good, sails are good, bang. It looked cumbersome, it looked clumsy.
When I saw that clip, I was like, that is dangerous. But hybrid sports, I think, are just such good fun. I can't wait to see what the next ones are.
What could be more fun than fishing for flathead in a tinny? Well, the Wild Thing, that's what. Seeking to make Australia's waterways more accessible, the Wild Thing cost the same as a surfboard and, incredibly, could be built in just 4 minutes from super-modified acrylic. Here's a montage of that happening. And here's what it looked like hooning around on a lake, complete with an optional transparent hull.
The makers of this craft claim higher environmental ideals. You are less likely to throw your rubbish overboard when you actually see where it ends up.
While its pollution reduction claims might not hold water, the Wild Thing did. But would it still stay afloat with one of its inflatable tubes punctured?
I'm about to find out.
The Wild Thing survived the surprise scissor attack. And meanwhile, in Western Australia, an inventor was trying to prevent a more typical water-related mishap.
When you're surfing, you just usually once every 6 months you go to the doctors to have your head stitched up.
So Rick Gath developed the world's first surfing helmet to protect surfers from collisions, reefs and the sun. But unlike skateboarding helmets, the Gath helmet had a competitive edge.
These three are prototypes for the next generation of helmets. They look somewhat more space-age than the original. That's because they've been fitted with a waterproof communication system that's already been endorsed by surfing's governing world body for use in competition. But they'll also be very handy for just hanging around in the surf, waiting for the next wave.
Should start paddling back out really quick because there's a decent set coming out of the south. How does it feel having someone talk to you while you're riding a wave?
While chatter on the waves isn't every surfer's cup of tea...
Why do you think people go surfing? So as not to communicate.
Some saw benefits.
This model could be very advantageous for competitive surfing. Someone on the beach could, relay all the scores of your rides and your opponent's rides, and that can be very helpful.
30 years later, pro surfers have steered clear of the helmet comms, but the original Gath is one of the most widely used surf helmets in the world. Thanks to increased awareness about the long-term impacts of head injuries, their popularity continues to grow. While surfing was changing with the times, the basic shape of the tennis racket had stayed largely the same.
Until now. It might look like it's melted in the sun or been run over by a truck, but the ergo racket is the first to be designed ergonomically to adapt to the human anatomy.
In the 80s, over 20% of Americans played tennis. Half of them would develop tennis elbow. But supposedly not with the ergo racket. The banana shape kept the arm straight and avoided overstretching muscle tendons.
Well, they take a bit of getting used to. You feel a bit silly at first, but after a while, they do start to feel reasonably comfortable. The ergo company in Sweden have already started redesigning squash rackets, table tennis rackets, and even badminton rackets. And who knows, one day, all rackets may look like this.
I think the ergo racket didn't take off the way we thought it might. In principle, it's very cool. You put less strain on your wrist. It's much more ergonomic, but it's a bit of an awkward handle to get used to, especially if you're an established tennis player.
If ever there was a festival devoted to the future of fun, this was it. In 1988, the Queensland capital Brisbane was host city for World Expo 88.
Across this vast area, thousands of people from all around the world have poured into Expo their imagination and artistry.
They'll bring us all a taste of life to come using the best today's technology has to offer.
World Expo 88 was this celebration of the exciting possibilities of the future. We knew there were going to be huge changes, we didn't know what, and we hoped Expo 88 would tell us.
The event welcomed over 15 million people from around the world, an amount only just shy of Australia's entire population at the time. There were roller coasters, 3D movie theatres, new takes on tandem bikes, and a dude with a mullet totally crushing it at Ping-Pong.
Ping-pong robots have been around for about 10 years.
Wait, the mullet dude's a robot? Ah, no, it turns out the robot is behind the wall.
Inside the robot is a vacuum-driven recycling system. The speed and delivery style can be adjusted to suit by remote control. And the experts say 15 minutes against this fella is like 2 hours practice against the world's best.
Robots are amazing as training aids. They don't get tired, you can randomize them, you can input playstyles into it. Also, you don't have to ring up your friend and hope that they have free time at the same time you do.
Everywhere they looked, visitors encountered new visions of what fun might look like in the future.
The biggest attraction by far of the Swiss Pavilion is the sensational ski slope, artificial ski slope, which is covered with real snow.
An Australian invention called perma-snow gave many Queenslanders their first skiing experience.
Well, the temperature in here at the moment is about 19 degrees Celsius. That's about 76 degrees Fahrenheit. And yet the snow has been sitting here comfortably for more than a week. It's 99% water with a special patented chemical additive that affects the way the molecules bind together and prevents the snow from melting quickly and then refreezing into ice.
2 years earlier, the show had revealed perma-snow for the first time and brought it to Uluru for what must rank as one of the decade's most bizarre marketing stunts.
Well, I guess the real test of perma-snow is whether it could stand the broiling conditions of the outback and whether we could achieve what would have to be the ultimate in one-upmanship in skiing, and that's to ski at Ayers Rock. Can we do it? Let's find out.
And here it is, the moment when a man wearing short shorts becomes the first person in history.
Let's go.
You're first. To descend a fake snow slope with Uluru in the background.
We've been goofing around here in the snow for about 2 hours, and as you can see, it's still holding really quite firm and cold. And it's still firm enough to build something of a snowman. Well, looks a bit like Frankenstein's monster, I reckon. But if you can ski up here at the Rock, I reckon you can ski just about anywhere.
It was an outlandish way to get people used to the idea that one day skiing might not be confined to winter.
If you can create a new market, which is essentially what perma-snow was trying to do, right? It's trying to create a market for something that doesn't exist all year round. Now you can stretch out your dollars. You can sell your ski gear all year round. You can sell your ski lessons all year round. You can make sure that people are turning up at the ski slopes and buying their coffees all year round. And so perma-snow gives you essentially an entirely new market to play with.
Meanwhile, across the Pacific in Japan, skiing was in the middle of an unprecedented boom.
Learning to ski can be a difficult and painful process. I know. This is the first time I've ever been skiing. And there's one thing that I have learned is that it helps if you have a good teacher.
But the skyrocketing popularity of skiing in Japan meant there often weren't enough instructors to go around, leading to this robotic solution.
I think the ski robot's a cool idea, and Japan is obviously one of those places where technological advances, especially through the 70s and 80s, was a huge deal. The ski robot, I think, as Japan's ski boom was happening, makes perfect sense. Put the thing that people are doing a lot of with the thing that we're pretty good at as a nation, and off you go, ski robot.
The robot could snowplow, slalom, even parallel turn, teaching the basics surprisingly well.
It's a clever idea using robots to teach people how to ski. They don't complain, they don't get tired, they don't get cold.
But the robot showed it could do something most instructors don't. The robot shouldn't feel too humiliated. Then and now, skiing ranks high in the list of injury-prone sports. In 1989, we were introduced to a ski that aimed to make stacks safer.
Oh, well, you can see I haven't quite got the hang of it yet, but this new Australian ski device aims to put an end to broken legs and torn ligaments because it doesn't require ski boots and bindings to ski on them. All you need is après ski boots like these. And what that means is that if you start to get out of control, you can just step out of the binding, or the platform, I should say, while you're going along at speed and retain your composure.
The Stevie ski didn't just make exits from ski bindings more graceful. This bar linked the skis, which helped prevent unintended stunts like the splits.
You can see that the conventional ski poles on the Stevie have been replaced by these handles, which are free to move through a hinged joint like this so that you can balance as you go down the hill, but they're locked when you move them side to side.
Skiers could now control their movements with their hands, taking the legwork and burn out of skiing. Great in theory, but tricky in practice. While safety fueled some inventions, for one Aussie dad, it was a desire for a more adventurous playground experience. Axel Tinney believed people were tired of motorised and passive activities, so in 1991, he developed the turbo swing.
Well, this promises to be a swing with a difference. For a start, you don't sit on it, you stand. And with just a few quick pushes, I'm assured I'll be swinging right over the top.
Let's hope he hammered those pegs in properly, because Amanda Keller is about to fully send it.
I don't know if I want to go over.
Whether she wants to or not.
Oh, I'm still shaking. The first time over the top is really quite terrifying. I've probably made that look more difficult than it really is. I think with a bit of practice, you'd get used to the sensation, and that would leave a bit more time to concentrate on your technique.
Axel's daughter Rebecca had perfected her technique, and there was a tandem option for a face-to-face thrill ride. But the turbo swing was swimming against a strong tide of safety.
When you go to the park, you don't want to be pulling on straps. You don't want to be worrying about neck injuries. Swings have come down from being a fun height to being about 1.5 feet off the ground. So this was never going to fly.
But maybe this toy hovercraft would. The avant-garde Kinto Un was part hovercraft, part bumper car, and part cloud.
At 15 kilometres an hour, it's not exactly a speed thrill machine, but the fun is in trying to manoeuvre it.
Sadly, the world wasn't quite ready to put riding a mega marshmallow on their bucket list. Perhaps they were too focused on the new global craze. Photon, aka laser tag.
It's like the sign says out front, it's the ultimate game on planet Earth.
Based on Star Wars, it was the ultimate game for sci-fi tragics. Just load up your laser gun and prepare for a zap-happy space battle.
Photon was also one of the really early immersive kind of gaming experiences. People hadn't seen things like this before.
I think actually more of the entertainment centers are going to move in this direction because it is interactive. You know, a consumer doesn't just passively sit there. He is a part of it.
Humans love immersive experiences. You've got escape rooms, you've got laser tag, you've got VR experiences. It's something that hits on a core part of, I think, the human spirit, which is, take me somewhere else.
The buzzword of the era was interactive, and there were some offbeat attempts to embed it into our favourite childhood games. In 1989, we discovered the world's first long-distance tug-of-war. The Tugman lets you face off with a computer or a team halfway across the world. Thanks to a branch of computing called automatic control theory, the rope reacted and adjusted in real time. It was a masterclass on how to make one of the world's simplest games incredibly complicated, but it spoke to a basic need.
That combination of the human with the machine interacting with other humans has always been a place of fun. It could exist right now in Sydney and people would be paying credits and money to play with that thing. In fact, where is it? Bring it back.
If you were a kid in the 1980s, there was a new way to have fun: video games. Gaming was a rapidly evolving playground. We'd gone from the simplicity of Pong in the 70s to the action-packed Space Invaders in the early 80s. And by 1986, we had a serious upgrade.
This is Space Harrier, and it's one of the more impressive computer-generated games that have recently been released. Gone is the two-dimensional display.
And in its place were 3D images, which would have seemed impressively realistic. At the same time, a huge leap in gaming hardware had occurred, with displays being generated via laser discs instead of microchips.
The obvious extension to Laserdisc games is this: the GP World Car Race. The Laserdisc footage was actually shot on a racetrack in Japan, and when displayed on two TV screens, cunningly joined by a mirror, the effect is startlingly real.
As soon as video game graphics started to improve and become realistic, everyone realized that that's what they want, because it gave you that experience of entering a different world. It just became the hot thing.
But whether Laserdisc or computer-generated, what all of these games have in common is that the opponent is a computer, not a human being. But this game, VS Tennis, is somewhat different. OK, Chris, anyone for tennis?
Don't mind if I do.
VS Tennis was Pong in polychrome POV. A tabletop slugfest, perfect for whiling away the hours between Lendl-McEnroe Grand Slam showdowns.
But of course, with this game, you can't argue with the umpire.
And nor can I throw my racket down on the court in a tantrum, as some tennis players are wont to do.
While giant leaps in computing were pushing video gaming forward, others thought it was time to take gameplay back into the real world.
TechForce has been called a three-dimensional video game that can come alive on your living room floor. But it's quite a bit more than that. With the little control console, each player can either directly control the mobile units, or progs as they are called, or program up to 8 of them to perform a number of strategic actions. It's quite a game.
In the era of Transformers and Star Wars, real-life laser robot battles seemed like a no-brainer.
Let's have a look at some basic moves. Just press the particular number that is assigned to one of these units, for instance, 2. Now then, I press the movement buttons here, and that unit will do whatever I tell it to. Go forward, backward, round, fire. If you can imagine having 8 units assigned to this console and 8 to this one being played by another opponent, then you can get into some really exciting and dramatic game situations.
Dramatic and exciting, maybe, but there were also stumbling blocks.
So you want to play a round of TechForce. All right, you better take out your 16 little robots, your 2 controllers, and about 32 batteries. I'm not great at maths, but it's certainly more batteries than I've ever had in my house.
Not surprisingly, TechForce rarely made it out of the too hard basket, where some probably remain to this day. While back in the video game world, things were evolving at breakneck speed.
You're about to enter the virtual reality world of Battletech.
Battletech was one of our first glimpses of network gaming.
Now, this is different from a more conventional arcade game in that this is not player against machine. In that case, you eventually learn how it's been programmed and it becomes easy. This is player against player, team against team.
This was pre-internet, but your opponents could be sitting beside you or in a Battletech centre across the globe, linked by an ISDN cable.
Battletech was way ahead of its time. It was prescient. It was basically saying, we're going to let you do multiplayer video gaming, which only really became popular in the 2000s, in the early 90s. That was pretty much revolutionary.
Players delighted in blowing the bejesus out of each other from the comfort of $25,000 mech pods.
There are over 100 controls inside your Battletech cockpit. Starting on the left here, we have large laser, which I've just armed onto the green button, which means I fill this one to fire.
But the newly discovered special sauce was the players' socialisation with each other. The Battletech concept had taken Jordan Wiseman 10 years to develop.
We wanted to take entertainment fully interactive so that you told the story by your actions. You actually became the hero of the movie as opposed to a passive observant.
Just as they had done for the gladiators at the Colosseum, spectators bayed for blood here on gaming's frontier, paving the way for the rise of esports tournaments and the multiplayer internet gaming of today. Backtracking to 1986, nearly 35% of American households had gaming consoles, and grown-ups were running scared at the impact they were having on their kids.
For parents who despair at the slothful nature of playing video games, this is the new wave. Video games used to build up only the index finger muscles, but this system gives the whole body a workout. This pressure-sensitive match is attached to the family computer, which plugs into your TV set, and a variety of games slot into the computer. They're all interactive, exhausting, and loads of fun. Well, let's have a go.
An early version of Wii Sports, it hoped to entice parents of couch potato kids, a term which may no longer be politically correct, but which was, like the mullet, acceptable in the 80s.
It's not children making purchasing decisions, it's the parents. Hey, yes, I will give you a video game to play, but I'm gonna trick you into exercising at the same time. I like to think of it as blending up veggies into the mac and cheese sauce.
But not every kid was keen on that veggie plus mac and cheese combo, and games only got more compelling.
For some people, these games can be a lot of fun, but there is a growing concern amongst doctors and teachers that children are spending too many precious hours in this fantasy world of video games. A new medical term has even been coined, Nintendonitis, named after one of the most popular games, Nintendo. The symptoms include strained shoulders and thumb muscles, eye twitching, general nervousness, and the inability to concentrate at school.
Homework First looked like it belonged on a bike.
It's very simply a J-bolt,
but apparently it was going to solve a global addiction.
And then this 4-digit combination lock it off, and that means no cartridge can be inserted.
Well, it's just the first or one of the earliest attempts to solve a problem we're still trying to solve. It doesn't look like the most sophisticated object in the world, but on the other hand, like, at least it's something, do you know what I mean? At least it's an attempt to design our way out of wasting heaps of time. Maybe we should go back to the padlock.
I'm a big believer that if you want to mitigate or change your children's gaming habits, you need to understand them and work with them. Having a parent just lock up your console, that sounds like a nightmare to me. That to me is saying, my parent doesn't understand what I like and doesn't really care. Kids will always find a way, and I think really maybe you're just training a generation of people that know how to pick locks.
While kids tried desperately to crack the combination, creatives of all kinds were trying to crack the code that would send some gaming market dollars their way. In 1994, rocket science thought they'd done it.
Their sights are set on producing the most imaginative and the most believable interactive computer games on the market.
The goal was to make gaming cinematic. Screenwriters and art directors behind some of the world's biggest blockbusters were working with prolific puzzle designers from the tech world to produce games like Lodestar. It was a mix of drama, animation, and Hollywood star power, like Ned Beatty.
Get back to the outer where you belong.
But their next generation of games would be even more realistic, at least according to rocket science founder Peter Barrett.
This thing is based on the TV bombs that we used during the Gulf War, and it's actually sort of a guided nuclear missile that you fly to the target.
And many were betting that this 27-year-old Aussie wunderkind would score a bullseye.
Rocket science was essentially going to be the next big thing. That's what Silicon Valley thought. And Peter Barrett gave Elon Musk his very first job at rocket science. And this industry was very, very young. And I think that all the guys at rocket science sort of believed that they could carve out their own niche.
Investors ploughed $65 million into rocket science and began a nervous wait for its hopefully stratospheric liftoff.
Where do you think rocket science will be in 5 years from now?
We'll either go through the roof or we'll vanish. You know, I don't think there's any middle ground. Yeah, the entertainment business is about going after the big score, but to do that, you've got to take enormous risks and just go for it.
Rocket science would prove to be one of the decade's most spectacular busts. Gamers weren't quite ready for games to become Hollywood movies. The lesson? Realism was important, but gameplay was, and still is, king.
I think as games have evolved and technology has allowed basically anything, there's been quite a bit of divergence of where game developers want to go. Some are still really pushing that realism. They want pores on the skin and hairs coming out of every little part of the face. And some have opted for a much more stylistic choice. They want to show off art and imagination and creativity.
And all that diversity has meant that gaming is now not just a niche pastime, it's for everyone, with around a third of the world's population considered gamers.
In the 80s, parents really equated video games with a toy, with something that you play once and then you put away. That's not what happened. We kept playing video games. It kept growing and growing and growing, and now everyone plays video games. Gaming is the biggest entertainment medium on the planet. It easily outstrips the revenue from television, from film, from music. It's worth, in 2023, about $200 billion a year.
The 1980s and 90s. These were years when the future of fun was right at our fingertips. And amongst the bizarre new sports and innovations in gaming, there was also room for a new spin on traditional ways to enjoy ourselves, like the humble dinner party.
To the average dinner party guest, this looks like an inflatable palm tree. But imagine their surprise when they realise, in fact, it's part of the sound system. Yes, the mood is being set from deep within the furniture. At the base is a speaker capable of handling 25 watts. You can play any sort of music, but for full effect, you might like a palm chord orchestra or I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts.
Let's cut to another story before this gets awkward.
With this terminal, I can control every piece of audio and video equipment in the entire household simply by pointing it at the sensor on the wall and giving it a quick press. Beethoven, please. 9th Symphony.
It wasn't the most exciting Beyond 2000 segment until Jeff Watson found a disturbing way to spice it up.
I can have music wherever I choose to go, even when I'm doing my ablutions.
I'm trying to work out whether the fact that they take their clothes off a lot, or a fair proportion of them, it's a trend that was around in the 80s. I do remember a lot of shows with shirts undone to the belly and a lot of chest hair.
Oh, it's a bit heavy, this Beethoven, isn't it?
By the late 80s, Beethoven was rolling over to make way for electronic music. And even famous jazz musicians were trying to find a way to stay relevant.
And to explain the phenomenon of change, we have Mr. Jazz of Australia, James Morrison. Well, James, what are you holding there? It looks a bit like a fly spray.
It's a electronic trumpet controller, and it allows me to just plug into virtually any synthesizer that would traditionally have been played by a keyboard player and control it.
Of course, the keyboard was, and I think still remains, kind of the most appealing version of these instruments, but by having other controllers, this allowed people to very quickly make a myriad of sounds that we hadn't heard before.
La 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 la. The Breakaway Vocalizer 1000 works like a normal synthesizer, but instead of hitting a keyboard, you create music by humming or vocalizing into a microphone. Now, you don't even need a sense of pitch. If my voice is off key, the vocalizer uses a process called voice tracking to slightly adjust the notes I create. La 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 la. So you sound great no matter how awful your voice is. Boo 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 boo.
This is kind of a crude start of something that has become really common. Make the auto-tune obvious so people can hear it and it becomes almost like an instrument. This was the beginning. They started something.
Though some thought auto-tune controversial, in 1998, Cher's song Believe proved it could top the charts. Today, the software is used in 90% of pop songs and features on many amateur recording platforms.
If you're not a musician, but you have a song buzzing around in your head, then the vocalizer could set you on the path to stardom. Da-da-dum-dum-dum-da-dum.
If you think that's good, try these. They're great for drummers or would-be drummers who can't get their hands on a drum kit. The sticks have movement sensors in their tips. An electric signal is transmitted to this little amplifier, and voila.
Hey man, that's pretty cool. You want to jam?
Right on, brother.
What's up? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Entertainment takes many forms. This wasn't one of them. Luckily, if you wanted to leave it up to the professionals and listen to true musical talent, there was the famous Walkman.
The Walkman was the first portable music device for a single person. While it's a really cool piece of tech, it's essentially revolutionised the way we listen to music.
More portable than ever, the Walkman also helped support a new craze for exercise. And there was even a special budgie smuggler edition.
It's a new type of radio called the Band. Quite a neat little device, made in Hong Kong to an American design, and it's waterproof to a depth of 3 meters. That's about 10 feet. The radio itself is back in here with the batteries sealed inside, and the speakers are sealed behind a waterproof membrane.
This actually wasn't a Walkman at all, just a waterproof radio on a sweatband. At last, you could listen to Australian Crawl while you did the Australian Crawl. 8 short years later, Discmans had made Walkmans obsolete, and soon it looked like the era of the CD might be over too, thanks to this primitive version of Spotify.
It may not look like it, but if you combine these everyday electronics, you'll have the jukebox of the future. It's predicted that within 5 years, a satellite music service will be up and running. It will list hundreds of soundtracks from Mozart to Madonna on your TV screen via a teletext service. All you do is simply dial up the music control centre, which plays the track through your hi-fi system, and you pay for this high-tech jukebox service via your telephone bill.
The clunky delivery method would make Spotify's 626 million subscribers scoff today, but the idea for on-demand music was spot on.
I am from 1979, so I have had vinyl, cassette tapes, CDs. So Amanda, when she showed that jukebox and this idea of downloading the jukebox, I was like, mate, this is the best thing since sliced bread.
This little box now sits in the homes of the world, from village squares in Asia to Manhattan apartments. In just 30 years, television has insinuated itself into our society, becoming perhaps the most widely practiced leisure time activity on Earth.
In the 80s, entertainment on the small screen was, well, a little limited. We had 5 TV channels to choose from, although thanks to VCRs, we could time shift our viewing. Picture and sound quality left a little to be desired, but that is about to change.
Well, Sony just released a new product which is about to render obsolete the technology you're using right now. It will make your television about as interesting as yesterday's news.
Prepare to be wowed by the wonder of digital television.
This is a digital monitor coupled with a scanning converter. By far the most exciting development for the professional user because of its image enhancement capabilities. Now, as you may know, your television screen image is brought to you by a series of horizontal scanning lines. What the scanning converter does is effectively double the number of television lines, improving the colour and picture quality to near perfect.
It also improved television signals, which multiplied the number of channels, leading us down a never-ending path of too much choice.
We have really flipped the lid on how we access content. I have so many friends that sit there for an hour trying to pick what to watch on a streaming service and then give up and go to bed. Whereas I also remember as a kid rushing to the loo, putting the kettle on and rushing back during the TV breaks to get to that show that only ran then. And if you missed it, you missed it.
How would you like to own and control your very own television station? One that shows only the programs you want to watch, nothing else. Well, that's both possible and emerging now.
Smart TV was the 90s iteration of on-demand. Like Netflix, it used AI to deliver personalised program recommendations, which seemed pretty futuristic.
It absolutely has the trappings of modern-day video on demand, except in a really jerry-rigged way. You had to fill out a paper survey that gets sent off, and then your device basically calls a server to get the TV guide sent to it, so an algorithm can figure out what it thinks you would want to watch, and then it uses a jukebox-like system to take VHS tapes and record your video.
Now that the smart TV has created your ideal week's viewing, you can access any one of those programs by calling up the menu
and watch whenever you liked.
Part of what made smart TV so revolutionary was that it identified a human desire that we almost didn't even know we had yet. It was the first thing to say, hey, you don't have to wait for an appointment viewing, you can make the decision.
You didn't just have to decide when or what to watch, you could also decide where to watch, because now we were taking TVs on the move.
The latest is so portable that it's easy to catch up on your viewing inside the car.
Car TV was an obvious portable telly solution. There were also some offbeat ones.
This is Can Telly, the ultimate go-anywhere television. For around $150, it comes equipped with a 40mm LCD screen, digital tuning and a miniature speaker.
Then, in 1993, we reached the pinnacle of human achievement.
I can watch my favourite TV program even as I talk to you.
Because who wouldn't want to both shop and watch golf?
A tuner, or small television receiver and battery, is worn on your belt. The image is sent to a monitor in these glasses. That's reflected by this mirror just below your normal field of vision.
Back then, mobile viewing was a mind-blowing concept. Today, it's become the norm.
Walking around malls whilst watching TV is exactly what people do now with their iPhones. This was a perfect prediction, except we're not wearing it, we're holding it.
Despite all the ways we discovered to have fun, as we approached 2000, we were looking for bigger thrills. Surfing the waves was fine, but what about surfing the sky? In 1995, the sport of base jumping was still young enough to warrant a story on Beyond 2000. Medical doctor Glenn Singelman seemed an unlikely convert.
Wilderness is what you make of it, and an urban environment can provide a wilderness setting to go out and have adventures in.
Was that idea of pushing the boundaries, pushing against that idea of don't take any risks, you know, get a nice house and a nice life in the burbs. And base jumping was kind of one of many symbols of maybe that's not enough.
But throwing caution to the wind wasn't Glenn's style.
If you get it wrong, it is dangerous. So the solution is you don't get it wrong.
And with more durable and reactive parachutes, it was easier to not die.
This is the latest. I mean, this
Matches your pants too.
And it's just a bag and a parachute. As you're falling through the air, you release your pilot chute, which generates an incredible amount of drag. And that drag opens this bag and then keeps pulling the parachute out. And bang, it opens, and it's guaranteed to open.
While Glenn pushed the limits in the sky, others challenged the boundaries of our imagination. In 1994, we discovered the Octos, an 8-person bike with no practical purpose other than to spark positivity.
This is just amazing. Here we are, middle of a workday, downtown New York City. We're blocking an entire lane of traffic, yet the reaction has just been amazing. People are smiling, waving, grinning. There's no horns, no animosity. A fair bit curious. In Eric's philosophy, art and science will take us hand in hand into the future.
Artist Eric Stoller was the visionary behind the moving sculpture.
I think a lot of people are fearful of the future as being a technocratic place. And we'd like to show with our work that, yes, the future is going to be more technical and it can be human and humorous.
I think that the dystopian ideas of technology are fueled by this thought that we have an inevitability about technology, that nothing stops progress, that it's going to happen. And unless we have a better way of taking the mickey out of technology, pulling it apart and having fun with it, then I don't think we're ever really, as a society, going to be fully bought into it.
With the Octos, the future of cycling would be more about connection than fitness. And there were more predictions for the road ahead. With his team, Eric had developed an entire artwork series.
They look at the idea and they say, that's ridiculous, you're sick. Then I know it's an idea that I have to pursue.
Like the urban UFOs, an inconvenient helmet, or an entertaining take on driverless vehicles, or the bubble boat, water transport that prioritised fun and not speed. And Eric's most famous installation, the Lightmobile. Despite being totally impractical, the Octos has been a commercial success. It's used in city bike tours and for mobile work meetings, including at Google HQ. Meanwhile, in the land that spawned electronica pioneers' Kraftwerk, an artistic troupe had a similar idea to intertwine technology and art. High above the Berlin streets, they're tying on tutus and doing some torturous tuning up in readiness for an impromptu performance. After some last-minute soldering, all is ready. And against the backdrop of breaking glass, the audio ballerinas begin their diabolical dance. But this time the intent wasn't to delight, it was the opposite.
This boisterous ballet is actually meant to irritate you. And that's the whole point, making us redefine the way we hear things, taking everyday noises that we normally ignore and forcing us to listen to them.
This performance was the bizarre brainchild of Berlin-based Benoit Mowbray, who believed in the future artists would increasingly be inspired by the 20th century's advances in electronics.
Sound is actually color that's perceived with the listener's ear. Communications, technology, computer chips is a whole new world. And it's wonderful and exciting to integrate that into art.
I don't actually think that art and science are two different things. I actually think that was someone that wrote a school curriculum that decided to call that art and decided to call that science. So you just need to look at Leonardo da Vinci to recognise. You don't have to be a polymath to understand art as a mechanism and a medium and to understand science.
You find you get a positive response?
Very rarely, but we keep trying.
In the years before 2000, we had discovered entertainment and leisure at our fingertips. We could watch and listen to whatever we wanted, dive into a new sport no matter how crazy it sounded, and game with people across the globe.
this idea of people tinkering in sheds and coming up with really cool ways of doing things is still amongst us, right? This has not died, and I love it because that sort of ingenuity and trying to have a go at creating something new is what creates the things that finally become that new thing.
And while the future of fun may not have turned out exactly how we planned, we sure had a good time getting there.